All right, everybody, if you guys can turn your cameras back on, I think Alan Reed will be joining us in any moment now. Hello, Alan. Yaroslav, I forgot to mention that you were referred in as well
Yeah.
by someone who I trust the most.
That's good.
I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Where did you say you were right now?
I'm in Florence, Italy.
Oh, wow, it's beautiful.
It's very beautiful.
Alan, hello.
Good morning. I mean, afternoon.
We have people from all over the world in here, for sure.
Okay. So good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all of you.
It's morning for you, right?
Yes.
Right. So some of us are being a little shy. I asked everyone to put their cameras on, but I do trust everyone's listening, and you have a great group here. Um, so quick introduction. It's good to see you, Alan.
Thank
Uh,
you. You too.
yeah, super great to see you. So Alan is the founder of Secret Knock, and its home is in San Diego, California. Secret Knock hosts people like Joe Dispenza, Les Brown, the inventor of the credit card strip, Lee Steinberg, you name it. My favorite part is that it's super informal. So you just like my first time experiencing it, I was sitting down having a cheeseburger talking to this guy who happened to be the founder of E Entertainment, Larry Namer. Uh, and we were talking about our travels through Colombia. So it's a very informal group. We keep it cool. Alan is also the host and founder of Secret Knock Women, which is similar in concept. It's one day, and it's in the outskirts of San Diego, and it brings together powerful women um, to share wisdom, connect, get to know each other, and help each other in their journeys. Um, Alan, I asked to be here today because I heard her speaking about a very interesting topic in a profound way, which is the business of the United States, um, which she shares in private groups, such as this one. Alan also teaches on soul work for smart people. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your time today.
I'm honored. Thank you for having me. Are all of you business owners or the like?
Uh,
Yeah.
I believe everyone in here is or has been a business owner. Yes.
Okay. My next question is, what countries are in the room? Because this is quite important for the content that we're going to go over today.
All right. If you're
And
not in the US, tell Alan where you are.
just, yeah, feel free to just unmute yourselves.
I'm in Canada, based in Canada, but right now I'm in Dubai.
Okay,
Which
Dubai.
is, sorry, why my camera's it is on, but I just put my little nephew to sleep, so the room is dark.
That's okay. Yes, I understand. Okay, Sabrina is in New York City. Okay, America. And where else is everybody in?
I'm in
Latin,
Florence, Italy.
Italy. Okay, this definitely applies to you. All right. Chase is in LA. Yeah, okay. Applies to you. Okay.
I
Uh,
was in Aruba.
where?
Aruba.
Aruba, Latin America. Yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
Close, Caribbean.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so there's a little bit modification there. Which part of the Caribbean?
So just off the coast of South America. So if it's a super clear day, like no clouds in the sky, you can actually see the coast of Venezuela from Aruba.
Okay. Okay. So Aruba, but the government, is it Latinum or in a Caribbean jurisdiction?
Dutch jurisdiction.
Dutch.
Yeah.
Straight from the fatherland. Got it. Okay. Anybody else? I think we've got everybody now. Okay, so the presentation that Ryan had seen me do is actually a breakdown of the matrix. And it's an important one because we aren't oriented to the realities that we are actually in. We are taught that there is one reality, and how we operate in it is Colombia. Okay, got it. Oh, thank you. Is all that we do. That's how we open our businesses, how we rear our children, is just this one way. But there's actually a parallel reality that is existed, has always existed, but we don't use it. And oh, Russia. Russia, how are they structured? Not quite the Vatican, but something different. Okay, more of right straight to the government. Okay, I will modify a bit for the Russian. This will apply to you. So if you guys have paper and pen, you guys are gonna tilt it like not this way, but horizontally. And you're gonna draw a 3x3. Just fill up the whole thing because you're gonna fill it up. And you do a 3x3 grid. So 3 across and 3 down. So you'll have 9 boxes total. And we're going to start on the very right of it. And above it, you're going to put water as a little headline. And this is the reality we're all in, is what's called law of the water, maritime law, admiralty law, naval law. And this traces back from, the crowns doing expeditions in history and looking for new lands. And in those expeditions, there were rules that these people had to follow. And that is law of the water. And as they found treasures and people and land to conquer, they applied the law of the water to the lands that they found. And it has extended until today. And so today we know it as like a legal system, which is a bunch of codes that we actually follow. And in this water structure, we have permission. We ask to be allowed to do something. We pull licenses for practically every breath we take. And even to the point that like a nation, if you wanted to form a nation, a city, a township, you would ask for permission to do that, right? And so all these structures are created by man. And the structures I'm talking about is for America, the United States of America, or the nomenclature just United States. Okay, so there's Colombia, there is Russia, there is Italy. And as far as I know, a lot of nations are actually formed as a corporation, the way that you guys form your businesses. How do you pull your licenses where you're at, to establish your business? What do you call it where you are? In America, we can pull LLCs, C corps, 501c3s. There's equivalents to this to where you are, like limited partnerships, stuff like that. LTDs, Incs, yeah. And so what is it like in Italy? How do you call your,
I have no idea. I'm here just for the time. I'm not establishing myself here. So
okay, cool. Is anyone else establishing themselves in the country that they're in? No? You're
I'd
all
like
just,
I'd like to help Yurislava because I think she said she'd like to end up in Ireland, and I think that would be a LTD.
LTD, yeah, I
in
hear you.
Scotland, but
Scotland
close.
is also
Scotland,
LTD.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It may be a LTD, British system.
Yeah, so it is
thank
LTD,
you.
right through the crown. Okay. NV in Mansak BPA. Oh, okay, that's in Aruba. Okay. So what the countries represent, the entities that they form, is actually a ship. And hence the people in it are called citizens, and you got to apply for your citizenship. Okay. And after that, they'll issue you, now you'll have to have a passport to leave, passport to enter, you know, your driver's license. In America, we have something called the Social Security card, which I forget what it's called in like the UK or in Europe, but it's what they tie your VAT into and your earnings into. So, but if you notice, they say that it's yours, but if you look at the paperwork, it's actually theirs. It says this is owned by the Passport Security Office, or it's basically owned by the office that issued it to you. They can take it back from you anytime they want, because actually it is theirs, these pieces of paper, but it's named after you, and so you're the holder of it, okay? And because of those identifiers that you carry in your wallet, you have to follow statute, what's called codes. They're like, it's like the Bible, the code of rules that you got to follow, and the matching penalties when you follow or don't follow them. And the enforcers of this system are like the attorneys and the accountants, the CPAs. And what's known as taxes, for example, are the fees that are being used in the system for being in it. For you to be in the ship, you must pay the fees to exist in the ship. Okay. And that's like your sales tax or your VAT, your every move you make, you're paying for something. And when it comes to the medium of exchange, okay, there's something called, like, it's standardized, it's currency, and it's government issued. So it wasn't that way always before. See, people used to trade using tea, using cacao, using whatever each local region counted as their asset. But today it's all standardized into a currency. And and the money, this currency, it's called money, is issued to you based on a debtor labor relationship. So your labor, you're the laborer and you're the debtor. And the facilitator of the storing of the money are the banks. And in America, the state banks are each state, like California, actually just opened its own state bank, which is super strange because they will be issuing mortgages, and basically people's homes who pull mortgages through the state bank will be owned by the state, which is very creepy. But some countries are used to this. I'm not sure where exactly, but I know some countries are already doing it. So you use what you're told, and the money that you have, you're just allowed to use it. Okay, because that's what you're told to use it as. And for you all who run your own businesses, behind the scenes of what you're doing is a universal, a uniform code of conduct, if you will. There's securities, there's licensing, and a debtor creditor relationship. So I'm going from this macro, and I'm going through it very quickly because this part is very boring, but it's absolutely dictating everything in our personal and our business work lives, even our family lives. And we're going to move now into, I'm getting out of the top right box, and we're going to go in that first column. We're going to go in the very bottom, which is the third row on the bottom right. And this is your personal activity. Okay. And here is where I say you in caps. So for those of you who have your passports or IDs, if you look at how your name is written, at least the American ones, they are in caps. And the nomenclature matters a lot. It tells you exactly what they're referring to in these caps. Caps means a corporation. And there's a whole code book of how things are named in every government, and that's what they're using. So it's not like an accident, that your name is in caps or not caps. Okay. And we're going to go through all the personal activities, your birth. When somebody gave birth to you, or when you give birth to a human, there's something called a certificate of live birth. And after that, you get that certificate of live birth, you go into a government office and you're issued a birth certificate. You trade in the certificate that for your human that you are, or you just gave birth to, and you get back a birth certificate. And that birth certificate actually is printed on paper money. It's a security. And every activity you do until since the issuing of that is tied to that. What you earn, what you buy, what you foreclose on, what you owe, credit cards, all of it is tied to this. Okay. After you're born, you go to school. And for most of the world, there's some sort of public school system. And in there is a pre-curated content and class design that's pre-picked for you. Okay. And it's coded, the set of codes I talk about, the UCC, it's coded in there what they will teach you and what they can't and what they won't. And they follow that. They created this curriculum around the world in the 1920s. It was spearheaded by one man, and everybody went and followed it. And over time, and almost 100 years later, pretty much the education is quite standardized. Okay. Now, so you finish school and graduate, and you decide that you want to go buy a home. Well, it's quite rare actually that anybody owns their home nowadays. If you look at all your mortgage documents, I'm not sure how many of you are homeowners, but if you look at your mortgage documents, what it says there is that you own your house with what's called a fee simple title. That's not actually ownership when you look at the legal books. What it is your right to use it. So that's what fee simple is. And I'm going to show you all the corresponding things in the other domain and other reality shortly. So that's why I have you guys making this. But in the fee simple, in the right to use, you basically, when you sign the paperwork for your mortgage, what you got is the debt, the paperwork. That's it. So, and the real tester here is that for folks that are having a hard time to wrap around this, that you don't really own, you only have the right to use a place that you bought, is, let's say you pay off that debt, okay? Well, what do you still have to pay? Property taxes. So see how quick you own your home when you decide not to pay your property taxes, and you will see who owns your house and the place you live in. So, and it's very clear, it's very legal. It's in your mortgage documents. It says fee simple title. The only way to really own land free and clear is to have a allodial title. And there are ways to process your title in order to switch it from fee simple to allodial. Now, when you move around, you're a driver, and a driver in the legal books is somebody who is moving around goods, people in commercial. But they don't tell us that when we are at the driver's office, the Department of Motor Vehicles, because the fees to pay these registrations pay for, I don't know, all these salaries, I guess. Because it's not for the roads, it's not for the freeways, and it's not for all the stuff they say that they're paying for. So, but as far as when you just want to drive, you're the one that goes to school to learn how to drive, right? You take the test, you're the one operating the vehicle, and in the end, you still have to go ask permission to go drive, despite you just learning how to do it yourself. It was knowledge that you yourself initiated to learn. Same thing for people who become doctors, anything that requires a license. You're the one that pays for your admission, you pay for your books, you pay for your teachers, you spend the time and hours to study, but at the very end, you are still asking for permission to operate and exist and perform the stuff you learned. Okay. And so we're all been quite okay with this. And one day I kind of woke up and was like, why am I asking for permission for stuff that I initiated? Why in the end, I spent 4 hours learning and learning. I have 2 degrees. And then I still have to go ask for permission at the end. Does that make sense to any of you? No? Yeah? Or it's just been common practice that it makes sense to you? Okay. So when you get married, what do? You pull a license. So you and your loved one say, I want to be with you together forever and ever, never, never, never. And what do you have to do? Ask permission, correct? You got to go down to the office of whoever grants such things that you guys are married. It's not enough that you declare to one another and make the effort to build a life together. Why? Anybody know why? Because that license is like your birth certificate. It has a license number, it's its own security, and an entire set of accounts and securities are created based on that license. Okay, that's why. So every time you pull one of those licenses, another asset is pulled in your name that you're backing, but you don't really get the benefit of. And it's a lot of money running behind you in your name. So children, ooh, this is a touchy one, and it's like not pleasant to say, but it is the truth. So children are actually owned in America, and probably all the countries you're all in, they're owned by the corporation, meaning the United States. So the birth certificates here are signed by the mother, but not the father. Because the father is who you submitted that form to get the birth certificate, which is the Health and Services Agency, the Department of whatever it is in your country. And what we know to be pay rents, which we jokingly say in our circle, you pay rent for the child that you have. You just have guardianship, but you do not have absolute parental rights, and they can step in anytime for any reason and tell you actually where to put your kid to school, what health procedures must be administered to them in order to fill some sort of satisfactory standard, or they cannot be in the school, and they can take your child away from you because they own your child, because they own you. So everything that's under the corporation, aka the country, the nation jurisdiction, is actually owned by that. And it's through the paperwork that we all carry and are issued to us. And so same thing that if you want to divorce, you don't just divorce. You just don't go, okay, we're calling it. Here's how we want to break down our livelihood, our homes and our assets. And what do you have to do for that? You have to go ask for permission. Okay. So practically every breath, every move we take in our personal lives, we're asking for permission. And it's by way of fees and registration. And it doesn't always have to be this way. And actually wasn't always this way, just not even 100 years ago, not even 80 or even 70 years ago. And then when you die, what happens is the government gets paid from your estate, and then your debts are paid, and then your descendants receive the rest of if there's anything left. But that's the ranking. There's a ranking of receivership of your estate, of your life's work, the government, your debts, and then your heirs. And because they have a right to our labor, they have a right to all our intellectual property, our businesses, our everything. That's the final certificate. Yes, Sarah, correct. So it's like most of us are in here. I'm still partly in here, but we're gonna switch to then on the left side, the very left of your 3x3. And above there, you're gonna put land. Okay, so the right is the reality as we know it today. And the land part is what is, I guess, a different set of rules called law of the land, really. And in the right is what's legal codes, commercial. Law of the land is what's like lawful. So there's a difference between legal and there's a difference between lawful. Still man-made, but lawful as in stays closer to the constructs of natural law and creation. And how do you engage in that in this reality? Well, you use contracts and you use trust. So in the law of the water, we use codes. You know, if you get a traffic ticket, they will usually sign, you know, like code blah 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 for speeding, and then it's a different code for parking in the wrong thing. It's a different code for exceeding your parking meter. So that's what I mean by the codes. If your business license expires, they'll send you a letter with this code. Code this, it means you're expired. So the codes are in the law of the water. Inland, it's much simpler. How you navigate and how you live, you are free to do anything that doesn't harm another person. That's it. So there's not a need for 8 million codes, but you must do your best to just live your life that doesn't harm another. And if you want to get into agreements with people, you use contracts and you use trusts. And in the water world, law of the legal world, trusts have only been relegated to, you know, the elites, those with a lot of money, the super earners, the uber wealthy, mostly as an asset protection. But in land, trust is how people do business. And in the olden days, that's all how they did business, was using trust, business trust, actually, pure trust, private trust, Massachusetts trust that actually came from Rome and England, but it is not coded, okay? Law of the land is also what's called the common law, meaning what is common practice. And I've studied it. There's not very much like written, you know, if you will, 10 commandments of what the common law is. It really just boils down to harm of another, whether you harm someone or not. Okay, so what is the structure then? Well, they're republics. So instead of nations that are actually incorporated, they just have what is called a state republic with constitutions. So in America, there's 50 states. You know, in the UK, there's the different regions. In Italy, I know, you know, there's like what's equivalent to counties, you know, the Romagna, yeah. And so those smaller land regions are what are able to govern themselves, essentially. And that's mostly to take care of their common, you know, waterways. You keep the water clean, you know, you keep the dirt off the road. They're really, that's how it's done. And in this system, in the lawful system, there's an acknowledgement that is why there isn't codes is because like land is basically created by God, same as water. Everything's created by some kind of God or some higher force. And and so what's the citizenship? You know, is there still a concept of citizenship? No, you can just call yourself an American. It's much more permissive. You don't have to be, you're either born here on the land and so you're an American, or you were born somewhere else and you decide to come to the land called America, which covers from the north of Canada all the way down to the bottom of Mexico. And you're an American. It's your domicile. You are free to call yourself American because you're on the land called the Americas. And what is the identifier? Well, you claim you make a statement which you record in the recorder's office, like in a court system, that you're alive. You issue yourself your own identifier, acknowledging your soul as housed in a live body with living, breathing air with blood running through your veins. Okay, in the water system, the identifiers, you're dead in that system. You're just represented by a bunch of pieces of paper. But are you a piece of paper? Are you 3 pieces of paper? No, you're a human. Oh, actually, I shouldn't say human. I actually just found in one of the legal books that a human means monster. And a monster that has limited rights and needs to be taken care of. So this common use of saying we're human beings, we're saying we are monster beings in the, it's called Ballantyne's 14th edition legal dictionary. Okay, if you guys need to look it up, look up the word human. It means monster. And hence we're all treated like chattel in that realm, in the law of, in the realm of water, maritime law. So here we are live beings. We are, traditionally the religious would say the children of God. Acknowledgement of us being represented by the human body, being represented as the divine. And what's the crew? Who's holding all this up? In the other world there is, or I mean, really the current world, we have attorneys and CPAs, right? Because we're monsters or we're minors in that world, we require people to represent us, to count our money for us, and to make sure we follow the rules, attorneys and cops. And in the law of the land, you are your own power of attorney. You are of the majority. You are above age. And what does, taxes mean? Well, taxes mean is really about labor. You own your own income in the law of the land, in the lawful system. It is the fruit of your labor. Hours cannot be paid back to you. So you own it. And you can decide how you want to be remedied by the hours that you burnt serving someone else's mission or even your own. Okay. The medium of exchange was barter, or whatever the two of you decide is okay, is acceptable. So if you are having a craving for spam and you want to be paid in spam, and that person happens to have spam, and you're okay being paid for, 10 cans of spam for your 1 hour of graphic work, then so be it. So it's just what 2 parties decide is actual asset to each of them, and that is acceptable for trade. And that is what is the medium of exchange. Okay. Now, storing money. Okay, so storing money in the legal side was about our banks. Okay, the Vatican Bank is actually one of the largest banks in the world. They own, they're part owners or debtors actually or debtees issue the debt. How about that? To the top 5 pharmaceutical companies, the biggest 5 in the world. So when it comes to storing money, there is something called whole life insurance where people store money. And the life insurance companies are quite old. They're actually, for some of them, older than America, older than countries, some parts of Europe, because there's one I use and it traces back to France, but it's very old, 400 years old. But they do exist in America for those of you who want to look. And they're like trusts. They're older than the countries that are around today. And so they know actually how to exist next to, outside of the banking system. They actually resist the banking system, and they also resist the IRS. They're not a fan of the IRS. And they're very good at managing them and protecting your money from the IRS touching your savings. So that's whole life insurance. Now, small communities would also form what's called mutual banks. In America, I think I last looked, there's only 100 mutual banks left. I don't even know if, I think in Latin America it still exists. And what happened, how it works is in Europe, God, I think that's gone long ago. But in 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 the legal, or sorry, in the lawful system that we're in now, what happens, say my whole street, the whole street you're in, you guys, the road is just terrible. So all the families that live on that street would pool money together and contribute for a certain amount of time until they had enough money to fix that road. And that's what's known as like a mutual bank, community bank. And then they might go tap into the next street and all those families and say, hey, we're going to get our street fixed. Maybe we can get a better deal if we get your guys' street fixed too. And so somebody will do the accounting and break it down how much each household, can contribute. And so that was the birth actually of pooling money and mutual banks and community banks. There's going to be a resurgence of it showing up here pretty soon because people are realizing that you could still do it. You can still have a mutual bank. It just, a lot of the stuff I'm mentioning to you for law of the land, folks, it is all the rails are still there. We're just not using it. And so that's the point of this presentation, is for you to be aware that how you're doing everything, which is all in maritime law, is just a third of what's available to you, because we still have the middle part to go through, okay? You also have this entire system, lawful system, common law system on the left-hand side, and all the things I'm telling you, this is all available to you. We are just not taught to use them, but you can use them anytime you want, like now. So, okay. So, how you do business, contracts. All right. So now let's move into the bottom part. So we move from the macro, which is the top, and the middle part about, the structure, the money, the crew, the medium of exchange, the structures, and then now we're in the bottom left. I'm kind of moving a little quick because we've got time coming up. And we're going to go through all your personal activities. Okay, so birth. Live natural birth. This is the real you, okay? That certificate of live birth at the hospital or by the midwife, that's it. That's all that's required. And like a newspaper announcement, how like the royal family, when somebody's being born, they've got the announcement to the media, and like there's like a stand where the guard posts up the announcement of the baby. And the third part is writing it in the family Bible. That's all that was done. That established your existence as an organic being, okay? Now, education, well, the foundation, and you learn what interests you. You choose what you want to learn and who you want to learn from. In the olden days, which there is a resurgence of it, my son is in this kind of school right now, they put all the kids in like one classroom. It's called the one schoolhouse model, from like the 6th grade to the 10th grade or whatever. And the older kids would mentor the younger kids, and everyone learned at the pace that they're at. And they learned what they wanted to learn, aside from like once they got their math done, and their grammar, pretty much pursue what interests you. Okay. Now you finish education and you're like, okay, let me move into a home. When you take title to your home, it's alloidal. And alloidal is granted from, in America, it was King, I want to say George or Henry, but he said he wouldn't come after the people for the land. He wouldn't come after the American land when people came over here. That's all free and clear. So that is what's called alloidal title versus the fee simple title on the legal side, okay? Moving around, you are what's just calling a traveler. You do not need a license to travel. We are land beings. We have 2 legs. So the emphasis here is, why are we living in maritime law? Are we mermaids and mermans? Are we octopuses? No. I mean, even those creatures aren't living by this maritime law. Okay, we're bipeds. We have 2 legs. We naturally exist on land. And hence, I'm giving you this heads up that you also have all of this available, all these moves in your life available to you. Okay, so here you travel because we naturally travel. That's what we do. We have legs. Marriage. Okay, marriage is just a contract, so is divorce. So you are free to enter into a contract with another party. And should you decide to split up, you exit the contract per the stipulations. Hopefully you have an exiting stipulation. And children, well, the children are property of the parents in the lawful world. Okay. And anybody that tries to say anything about how you should rear your kids or what to apply to them is a trespass upon you as the parent. Okay, so death, proceeds from your death, your estate on the legal side, if you recall, is what? Who gets paid first? Government, your debts, and then your heirs. In the lawful side, you have you can establish a trust and it goes straight to your heirs, your family, or who your loved ones are, should you have specified them there. And so the key here really is in the middle. Okay. And the middle on the top, you're going to put heir. And right under that is really what's called natural law, universal law that says the sun rises and the sun sets, that everything that lives eventually dies, that everything ages eventually. Like, this is natural law. There is gravity. There are forces in our lives that are going on, moving around us all the time, whether or not we notice, whether or not we believe it, whether or not we care. Okay. And that's what natural law is, in short. I'm oversimplifying, but you get the idea. And under natural law, here is our promises. And our promises are what? Intent. They are hot air. It's hot air. What we intend to do, what we say out loud is hot air. And it gets solidified through contracts and trusts on the lawful side. Okay. And on the legal side, through the codes and the rules and the IDs and all of that stuff. Now, in the natural law are what's called rights. Okay. In the lawful world, there's unalienable rights. In the middle world, what I call them is unlienable rights, meaning you can't lien them because it's what comes as being humans, meaning when we are born, well, we walk, we breathe, we make a choice. We have a natural inclination to learn, to seek, to explore, to move, to travel, to create. Okay. And the legal side will basically create codes to lien all of those moves. All right. And the lawful side says, do whatever you want, use all of those rights, just don't harm another. And in this natural law and in the jurisdiction of air, all it is just you and God and creation. And it's your understanding of your role in this earth, in your reality, that allows you to be able to understand your role in the lawful side and on the legal side. If for those of you who are Americans, the Constitution was created. They tried to capture the natural law and unalienable rights, and the legal side doesn't follow the Constitution. Hence, they can do all the stuff they've been doing the last however many years, everything from your food to kids to whatever, all the things that everybody's arguing about in the media, because they don't follow the Constitution. That doesn't exist there. In the lawful side, yes, it does. And what do we do? How do we exchange with this world? Well, the judicial system still acknowledges the common law, okay? The law of the land. Most of them are administrative, yes. But in those days, there was no internet, there was no iPhone, there was no Android. And when they get to a point where, in an example like that, where the common law or the legal books have no acknowledgement of, or does not address some of the issues that go around privacy and all that kind of stuff, they actually revert back to the common law. So, because the legal law was birthed from the common law. So, in closing, you understanding your divine right, you as a soul. Ryan mentioned this is that I worked, on soul work. Soul work is twofold. One is of course, the inner work of oneself, understanding, engaging your soul personally into your personal life, but also the integration of this soul out here in the world. And this is what I actually found in the search of that. How does somebody who understands we're not just a vessel that does the same thing every day. We have creativity, we have consciousness, And yet we have such a rigid system. And it turns out it's because it wasn't always what existed. And so that there has been, in fact, a different way. And it was going to be all each up to us to use them, because that's what we need right now for the change. So when you see this information out there, there are people who are very much in this world, and there are very much people who are just like common law rights, impede my rights. I don't condone any of those things. I don't condone like a volatile polarity energy and like arguing about what's right or wrong. We all must find our way to integrate these two systems in our existence and make both of them work for us. Okay. And if you all have business owners and you have assets, you have savings, or you're building a future, it's important that you know this so that you are set up with your foundation right, and not find out at the end when you spent your whole life that you actually your business is rolling up to some other corporation that you have no control over. And you didn't actually, you just had permission to control for the time being because they let you. That you actually, in fact, have control and ownership of your own work, your own businesses, your own patents, your intellectual property, your children, your marriage, your divorce, all of it. So that concludes our presentation. And actually, if all of you would look at the headlines you put, land, air, and water, it makes the word law.
Alan, thank you so much. What are the middle boxes for?
The middle boxes is when I talked about like money and taxes and codes.
Do you
Good
have
question.
like 5 more minutes? Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead, Chase.
What do you think is the role of leadership in bridging the gap between these different domains?
To get people to not be so combative. When people first realize this, they get very angry and want to fight everybody. They want to fight the government. They want to fight all this stuff. They want to go argue with cops. I'm like, stop it. So silly. They're in the same position as you. They don't know either.
I totally agree. I feel like I've been in positions of leadership, and you can't satisfy everybody. And then being humans, I think we all come from such different experiences that it does take systems of organization to, promote welfare in general, whether it's resources that we share or connections that we need. I certainly don't want to go and pave the road every day so that my motorcycle doesn't slam into a pothole, or, keep people in their lane when I'm out sailing, or even in business practice, I don't want to have to worry about somebody knocking me over the head for my assets. So yeah, I think there's a critical infrastructure there. I really enjoyed the philosophy of making it a visual thing, and then about the elements. That's very near and dear to my heart. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions for Alan? We've got her for another few minutes.
I got a question. Thanks so much, Alan. That was a great, that was very information filled. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully Ryan will share the recording with us so I can probably listen to that bit again. My question to you is, if we feel like we are wanting to shift to the land side, there are obviously a lot of different things that we can do. Maybe some things are still not quote unquote acceptable. Like maybe if you want to, I'm not sure, but if it might be hard in certain countries, let's say if you wanted to get married, you have to actually get a marriage certificate so that your kids are actually lawfully, well, not lawfully, legally yours.
Yes, legally yours.
So what is it that you would suggest, or I don't know if it's kind of a vague question, but what is one thing or a couple of things that you suggest that is more easily doable to move into that lawful land side of things?
Set up a trust.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the first move, there's a lot, right? It's almost like a total overhaul because you have such an established identity on the maritime side, but like to then match all of it and establish your footprint in the land side, it's like a lot of work. So trust is the way to go, the first position to start in. Because you could take what you have, you know, should anything happen to you at this moment or tomorrow or any moment, that what you want is taken care of and will be carried out exactly the way you want.
Thank you.
That's the first step for, and I can't think of a situation where that wouldn't be your first step. Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question.
Okay.
I have a question, I guess.
Yes.
Whole life insurance.
Yes.
Suggest we do our research on whole life insurance.
Yeah. It's actually pretty straightforward, whole life insurance. It's not very popular in the financial world. They don't like it so much. There was a big move to get people, the marketing campaign, I think it was started in the 60s or 70s, which is to make fun of these people who stuff their money under their mattress. You know that saying? That was like a whole marketing campaign, and it was to get people out of putting their money in whole life insurance policies and into banks. And if you look at the original intention of the usage of bank, it was actually just to transfer money. That was it. You were never meant to store it there. And it's actually not favorable to you to store it there. I don't know if we have any bankers here, but there's Dodd-Frank's Act. Like they don't have to give you your money. They can give you a statement of what you think you have, but like it's in the laws. They don't actually have to keep your money nor give it to you in cash if you ask for it at the bank. And so whole life insurance, there's a few experts in the field that are in the network, very close friends, you know, Brett, Chris Noggle. Brett and Chris Noggle and I are all in the same office. I actually will playfully say to people, you can be a trust fund baby right now. First open a trust and then fund it with your whole life insurance. And you are now a trust fund baby.
You're awesome. Sarah, go ahead.
Can I squeeze in one more? Because this
Yeah.
is so awesome. Do you think that crypto and decentralized finance fits on the land side of things? Or where do you see it fit?
So I was in the very beginnings of this conversation. There was actually a Bretton Woods event back in the, I don't know, 30s or 70s when they took the gold off of money off gold. And there was another Bretton Woods conference that happened 5 years ago, and I was invited to that. And in that conference, which I have no business being in, but they invited me, was like people who ran treasuries from around the country. You know, the Bitcoin Foundation was there, Ethereum, all these people were there, and I just was spinning my head. And the decentralized money is the digitized version of what used to happen. Okay, so in that sense, it's great. Where it's dangerous is the serialization of every transaction you make, because what's going to happen is it's actually going to be traced right back to you anyway. How? Well, there's quantum computing. And when those computers release, they can solve anything in like 30 seconds, like the most impossible math, the most impossible tracing of whatever in 30 seconds, no matter how much you conceal and do this with, you know, with your money and your transactions, because every move is serialized. There's like a receipt of it. So, you know, it was an attempt, right? Now, remember I said an integration needs to happen. It was an attempt. That's what I think of it. It needs a lot of improvement.
Ellen, is there anything we can do for you as we close out here?
Spread the word gently. People's consciousness are sometimes not so amenable, but obviously you all are here, and I'm not sure how it landed all to you, but I carefully made sure that I wouldn't just give you the heads up without also giving you the remedies of what you can do for yourselves. Okay, so it's just claim of living, the trust, the whole life insurance, and if you talk about this, please do so in the same manner.
And where can we find you on social media?
Oh, I'm on womanity.com. No, that's my website. But yes, on social media, also Womanity. And of course, Facebook, Ellen Today. This content itself, I actually don't talk about publicly. So we have a site going up, and I think it is up. It's called We're No Good. It's called No Good, KNOW. We're no good.com. WERE. Yeah.
We're no good. Cool. Thank you so much for your time today. It's so nice to hear you again.
Great to see you.
And yeah, Sarah, I will be sending the recording on to everybody.
Yes, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions. When I do these, there's usually a slew of people on all the media, social media channels asking me what books, what this, what that. Happy to send them over. Just contact me.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
All right. So as we wrap up here, just remember that you can make a huge impact in someone else's life just through one smile, one hug, opening the door to one person, or even just one conversation. So I challenge you to do that for one individual today. Virtual hug to wrap up. All right. Thank you everyone for being here. Ellen, thank you again
Thank
so
you.
much.
It was an honor. Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.